You probably already know.
I want to think about it here.
We're just waiting for.
I snapped out the sheet rock.
You still there?
Yeah, I put second. Here.
I'd like to call the Thursday, February 3rd, 2022 Lake County Zoning Board of Appeals meeting to order. Please call the roll. Here.
Here. Here.
Here.
Here. Okay. The next order of business is the approval of the previous minutes from Thursday, January 6th, and the approval of the minutes from the petition 21-P-1566 hearings.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion carries. We're going to start the meeting tonight by going to the new petition and skipping the old business for the moment. On the new petition, it's petition number 21-P-1584. Petitioner is Mike Partington, permanent parcel number 070806379003 in Dixon Township. Petitioner is requesting a special use for the purpose of a self-storage facility. Petitioner present. He's- would you like to?
Say, or swing around. That'll have you better.
The petitioner is in the room, Mr. Chairman. He's at the back of the room. We would ask that the ZBA recess and reschedule this petition to a later date after the February 24th County Board meeting.
Okay. So that the board understands exactly why we're doing this, I'm going to ask Mr. Boonstra to please explain what's going on.
Yes, sir. I'm not going to call you Your Honor, but I'll refer to you as Chairman. So the county board is currently going through what would be a text amendment, which would allow for the project that is before you today in this petition, due to an issue of it being ripe at this point, because the current set of codes that are before you today would not allow for the petition to go through. It seems as though this, if it's going to be continued, would allow for it once it passes through the county board, and then you could consider it at that point. But up until now, the only option you would have is a denial at this point because the code doesn't allow for it. So I believe that if it is to be recessed at this point, you can actually review it after the February 24th meeting.
Okay. So at this point, can I get a motion to recess until our March meeting?
So move.
We have a motion to recess till March meeting on this petition. Gene seconds. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Recess till next March meeting. This March meeting, pardon me. Next month's meeting. Okay.
And then I think it's March 3rd.
Moving on to old business. Petition number 21-P-1585, petitioner Jared M. Zellhofer, permanent parcel number 13-21-01-101-005 in May Township. Petitioner is requesting a special use for the purpose of a planned unit development. It looks like we're getting new updated material. Since this is a continuation of the last meeting, Mr. Boonstra, do I need to swear them in, or are they still sworn in under the last meeting?
I'm going to take a page out of Tim Slavin's book and say it's a new day. It's a new swearing.
A new day and a new, okay. A new swearing. Okay. I'm gonna swear for. Right hand, you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is true.
Yeah.
Who's going to start?
I can give a brief intro and then I'll let Mr. Zalhofer take it from here. As you guys know, at our last meeting, you had given us several action items that you wanted us to check into. And I've handed out to you a couple of documents really, and I'll have Mr. Zalhofer go through each of these one by one. Let's start with the first of the pictures of the outbuildings at the property. Want to describe for them about the lighting?
Okay, so we took pictures north, south, east, and west, and I apologize because there's not actually, well, I guess some of them are labeled. I believe Mr. Hughes asked for pictures and descriptors of what the doors, lighting, things like that. So we took pictures of all the sides and the main structure, and then also the boiler accessory room, and basically put descriptions. So page 1 basically shows the production room. This faces kind of an east direction. That one's not labeled. Shows we've got 3 doors and a walk door with large vapor lighting outside. Second page is basically a free floating block structure. That's our heating system, labeled boiler room. Third page is the west side of the building, which is mostly our maintenance department, showing lighting and the door number. Next picture is the north side. This is has our maintenance department and as well as the materials in and trim shop. This is where there is one future proposed light. This is the only side of the building that does not have lighting, which faces the north. Next picture is also the east side, but of kind of the front part of the building. Shows where the office is, the stock materials, and once again shows the lighting location.
Moving on to the next packet, it looks like a series of drawings or what I would call a site plan. Did you commission an engineering firm to come out and take a look at the property?
Yeah, that's correct. Commissioner Willett Hoffman reached out to them. They sent a surveyor out on Monday, took elevations and site analysis. He also measured our existing catch basin, which is on the west, and that would have been one of the previous drawings that I submitted to the board. And late this afternoon, he sent me basically the results or the findings of their survey. And without having to try to decipher through all these pages, which I don't understand 100% myself, but you can read the summary, and basically the current catch basin, retention basin
I'm gonna interrupt you real quick. When you say the summary, is that the single sheet of
That's
paper?
that's a single sheet.
Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
So Mr. Smith explained to me that our current retention basin, which is on the west side of the building, which drains approximately a third of the property, that the sizing of the catch basins, the drain pipes, and the basin itself meets county code. The only thing about that basin that needs to be addressed is that we need to add an outlet pipe in. I believe it was 10 or 12-inch diameter. So that's the only thing that has to be addressed for the west portion of this parcel, and indicated by the segmented yellow line that delineates the two different drainage areas. Then if you continue through on the second page, you can see in the bottom part of that, you can still see the yellow segmented line, and the red segmented line represents the new property line. This satellite is obviously very old. I believe they went back to 2005 after speaking with the county engineer, Dave Anderson, to establish what he was looking for and I guess how far to go back. So the red segmented line represents the current property line. They're requiring me to put in another retention basin, which would be in the southeast corner, and they kind of have a generic representation of a berm drawn in black. The berm needs to hold a minimum of 3,400 cubic foot of water storage. Also, again, having an outlet structure of a 12-inch diameter pipe. Then you can see by the picture, there's a natural waterway through there. That's where the water would continue after it leaves the basin. And I believe that's pretty much the summary of what they found.
Mr. Zellhofer, you were talking about the retention pond. Did they give you a rough idea of like what the dimensions would be? 100, 3 feet deep or anything like that?
No, basically, they're not specifying a size. They're more interested in capacity. So they're leaving it up to me to fit the topography and the layout of our material. That happens to be where the materials yard is. As long as we can reach the elevation, which if you read in further, I believe it was maybe 835 feet. Somewhere they set the elevation of what it needed to be, and then the biggest thing they explained to me was the capacity. We need to have around 3,400 minimum cubic feet.
Okay.
Yeah, 3,400 cubic feet. Mr. Zellhofer, just to clarify what I'm reading right now, the detention pond in the storm pipes that are conveying that water to the existing detention pond, those are currently 6-inch pipes,
Correct.
and they are proposing for 12-inch pipes.
No, that's not accurate. The detention pond currently has no outlet. And even though it's not necessary as far as functioning, apparently by code, we need an outlet pipe. So the 12-inch pipe they're referring to is the outlet.
Relative to the outlet. All right. As well as the drainage to the east, that also requires an outlet
Correct.
to that detention of 12 inches. You had mentioned a 10-inch pipe, and I am missing where that's indicated.
I believe that was in an email, so I don't know if they upsized it. He told me one of them would be 12-inch and one of them would be 10-inch, but now that I read the summary, it looks like they're both 12-inch.
Okay. And that is not for the drainage itself, but for the detention pond to allow excess water.
That's correct. Correct.
Okay. Obviously that the detention pond to the west is not on your property.
That's correct.
We also talked about the fact that that property is owned by, I think, Circle F Farms. I don't have that right in front of me, but
That's correct.
so you will need to do some additional work on the one to the west, or to install that outlet structure. You'll need to contact them and again get some sort of easement or waiver or some sort of documentation on that as well, won't you?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. I know it's been by agreement at this point, but I think some of this you probably need to start formalizing, whether you change properties in the future or your family does.
The only other action item that I can recall from the last meeting related to IDNR, that consultation. Mr. Zollifer, did you reach out to the Lee County Soil and Water Conservation District about this?
Yes, I did. I think there was some confusion in Brenda's report about her requiring is it a survey or
The EcoCat consultation?
there you go, EcoCat consultation.
Did you speak with Brenda about this?
I did, and she said that she is not requiring that. She's saying that if we wanted to know more about that survey, we would have to contact Springfield. So I tried to call Springfield multiple times. She forewarned me that they would not answer the phone and return messages. I don't know how many that I've left, but I've had zero response, and that was started probably a couple of days, after the previous meeting. But she also sent an email to that effect that we forwarded on, right? Stating that to clarify her position, that she said she clarified it further in the report that she wasn't requiring that, but that if we wanted to know more about it, that's who would have to do it. So I believe she had sent an email clarifying that she is not requiring that from her department.
Okay, I need to gotta find my materials, because I don't know how much of that was her option and how much of it actually had to be directed. Land use, okay, it is land use opinion, but it does say petitioner will need rather than may need to contact the Illinois Department of Natural Resources for further clarification and listing of the resources for this site.
Is that her report you're reading?
Yes.
I have the email pulled up from Brenda Merriman. I'd be happy to read it if you'd like, or I can just simply forward it to Dee too.
Why don't you go ahead and read it so that we have it for the record?
So it's dated January 7th of 2022. Says, Jared, in regards to requiring an EcoCat from the Illinois Department of Natural Resources, the Lee County Soil and Water Conservation District does not require the report. The information listed in your natural resources report for the hearing is for informational purposes only. This is to let the petitioner know that there could be threatened and or endangered species in the vicinity of the project and could have an impact on the proposed development. I have included a link to the EcoCat page if you have further questions. Again, I just run an information only request. She's got the link in there and then she's got her signature block.
Okay,
That's pretty normal.
okay, and I guess as long as there's no further building on that property, that probably is not relevant then. Would that be your opinion, Dee? Okay. All right. Dee, during the discussion at the last meeting, there were, I know he's already addressed the lighting and indicated where the one additional light he's looking to put it, but there was also some discussion about some other improvements he might be doing. Are you satisfied with the information we have on that, or is that more relevant to if he makes changes or updates you want to be notified? In particular, my thoughts are, and the two that come off the top of my head are the racking, as well as improvements to that wood boiler building. It indicated some need for improvements or potential improvements for both of those. The racking for the material storage plus that boiler building. So you're satisfied at this time? Okay. So any improvements he makes, he just needs to make contact with you.
Verbally prior to the improvement.
Yes, please.
And the lighting is from dusk till dawn? Is the lighting dusk to dawn?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Anybody got anything else?
I have a question. So you have the drainage on the one property. What about the 1460 property drainage?
1760,
For seven.
after Jeff Smith contacted Dave Anderson, they've come to consensus that they don't need to do a water storm management because there's no development over there. So that's why they stuck to the side where all the development is.
Do you have an email or some documentation from either or both of them as to the no need, the fact that there's no need to do anything on the other side?
That was on a phone conversation, but I'm happy to reach out and get that in written form.
I'd appreciate that, and then you can provide it to Dee so that we can supplement the actual study.
Mr. Zillhopper, then was that the property we're talking about that you're purchasing now? 1760?
Yeah, correct.
That's going through, is that process done yet or not?
Well, no, because it's all contingent upon the PUD, so it's under contract, but that's the contingency.
Any other questions, Glenn?
I'm looking at my notes, and I think the key points that we were talking about have been addressed from my standpoint.
So what's next? Do we do the findings of fact?
Yes,
Well,
unless D has something.
getting this late. I just, the highway engineer was going to look over the drainage. He is our stormwater management expert. He was supposed to review this. He hasn't had time.
So. what are you asking us to do?
I am. He hasn't reviewed it yet.
Okay. So you want us to recess this meeting? Okay.
I would prefer it,
Okay.
unless you're ready to just go ahead. I would prefer it.
Well, obviously, we potentially, I'll ask Charlie, could we potentially pass this based upon final review from the
Uh,
highway?
So you're asking, assuming that you vote to recommend it, it would be a recommendation to approve a permit or the PUD consistent or upon the condition that it has been reviewed by Dave Anderson and approved by Dave Anderson? Suppose you could, yeah.
I'd prefer not.
Comfort level.
Have we gotten anything back from the health department?
Oh, yeah, there was the other thing. It was. I kept looking at.
Are you
it,
asking
thinking it was something
me?
else.
Well, there's been emails back and forth with Jennifer in the health department, and she had two concerns. One was that we have a floor drain in the maintenance department, and she's asking for a, I believe she called it a storage or a holding tank. And I need to do some more research about there. So we're gonna have to discontinue the use of that till I can afford to put in this new system that she's requesting. And then the other thing that she mentioned, which I think there seems to be some confusion on, is the septic system. So in 2010, when the house, which used to be in the building, moved to the modular structure that's there, she said because they were splitting and that we had workers in the shop and that the house was separate, we had to upgrade the septic system. She had me upgrade the septic system to whatever specs that were by the, I believe there was a soil analysis done. We did that in 2010. Now she's mentioned about putting in another septic system because of the two parcels. She's sending me a highlighted code because you can't have two parcels served by one septic. This is not two parcels, so I think there seems to be some kind of confusion about what's going on with the property. So I believe the septic is okay the way that it is because she had me upgrade it in 2010, and this is not two separate parcels. I reached out to her again, but I haven't got any response in quite a while.
Is she concerned about, and I'm asking this, just trying to evaluate it. Is she concerned because she's, that you might be developing the part across the road, the 1760, that she's wondering or concerned that you might be putting in some sort of development that will require septic on that side of the road?
I don't believe that's her concern. I think that she's reading it as she, I've told her there isn't any development, certainly water, sewer, even electricity on the other side, 1760 side. She threw out a hypothetical that we could divide off the house and then they would have two parcels on one, two parcels served by one septic. I explained to her that I cannot divide off the house in a quarter or half acre or I lose the PUD. So I would never do that. Now I'm happy to sign something that says if in the future I'm going to divide off the house, then at that point I have to install a completely separate septic system, but I think she's misunderstanding that it's not two parcels, that it's all gonna be one parcel. Because the code she keeps sending me that's highlighted, that's what she's highlighting in it.
I would propose that we recess this until next month so that we got two issues to clarify, neither of which I think are major issues, but I just soon have the clarification. One being Dave Anderson's approval or what blessing, yeah, on the drainage report, and the other one be that Mr. Zellhofer is able to get some sort of documentation, whether it's an email or a formal letter from the health department indicating that the current septic field is adequate for the proposed use. And like I said, hopefully that neither of those are major issues, but I think it would help on the clarification. And a final point is, I think it would allow us to get our findings of fact listed down without sitting here and mumbling, going through the.
So my question is the form of the motion.
Yes, the first part of it until I got to the mumbling part.
Is that too long a motion for Dallas? No. She's got it.
I have a follow-up question, Mr. Zellhofer.
Got a motion.
We got a motion.
We're
We gotta
discussing
decide
it.
whether we're gonna. what we're doing.
Yeah, so that's why I was asking. The other part of what you were discussing, that we're talking about, the floor drain thing, is that going to be addressed in that?
Yeah, that's, I'm gonna have to do more, we're probably gonna have to disregard using it until we can afford to put in whatever system that she's referring to.
How much do you use that floor drain at this time?
We'll bring a truck in and wash a little bit of, snow off it or whatever. Most of the washing's done outside if it's equipment or something, so it's not a lot, but I don't know if it matters if it's a little or a lot, does it?
I don't, probably not.
So
That's that.
Question.
He's calling the question.
Calling the question. Okay, so the question is there any other discussion on this?
No, the question is to vote on the motion.
Okay. We're going to a motion. Is that correct?
Yep,
Do we have a second?
it was already over
We have
there.
a second. Is there any further discussion on this motion to recess till next meeting to get the clarifications on septic, the drainage, potentially the floor? Just so that's some clarification of what everybody wants to do. Right? So, no questions? All those in favor of recessing till next March 3rd? Say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
What's the time of your March meeting? Is that at 6 or is it at 7?
That's a 6.
6, thank you. Okay, thank you.
So we didn't make any decisions, so we'll recess to the next meeting. So
I did have a little update.
Okay.
On 2849 US Route 30, the Gentlemen's Club, they're on the corner of 251 and 30. So you asked them to come back quarterly to explain an update.
Yep.
So they are working on contracting a demo contractor to start demo of house and barn. They've been cleaning out regularly. Once demo is done, they will apply for a well permit. And with only the club remaining, that also should cure the septic defects as it would reduce usage by half. That's the update.
Okay,
Don't they get approval from the health department?
You're working toward that.
I talked to a neighbor that's really familiar with the situation there. And I told him what we kept hearing about a house and a barn. And he seemed to think that the important, or the machine shed in the back was what the guy was referring to as a barn. This blue machine shed.
Probably.
And they want to tear that down. That's the best building on there. That's why.
Maybe they want to move it to your house.
Well, I don't know, but, yeah, it's
Pay the fees.
30 years old, 4 years old. Anyway, so, yeah, all right.
So recessed until March 3rd. 6 o'clock. Thank you. I know.